But what are these beautiful color effects? What are these peculiar things that I see directly in my viewport in real time? Well, it is Glared2, the latest update of my add-on to add these light effects in real time directly in the viewport. I'll explain how it works in a new Blender scene. First, I'll mention that this is my first video made directly in Italian, where I have better language capacity and then translated into English via AI systems with an AI-created voice. Let me know if it works, if you like it, or if you prefer me to go back with my lousy English to speak to you in that language that I can't pronounce that well. So, first of all, let's look here inside Preferences. Under Add-ons, we have installed Glared2, and the free update you'll find shortly, or maybe it's already out by the time you see this video, in the store on Blender Market or Gumroad. I've made this new scene, and when we have a new scene, Glared will appear here. We can create everything we want inside our scene and go directly to Render Viewport. And at this moment, we are using Eevee. It works the same way in both Eevee and Cycles because it works inside the compositor. I add the real-time effects from here, and what we're going to, well, we can disable these warnings we don't care about that explain how the add-on works if it's the first time launching it. I'll remove them forever. The thing to do immediately is to activate the viewport compositor in camera. So right now, from the camera, we will actually see what Glared is doing, which is this. As you see, it works whether I'm in Eevee or Cycles. Almost nothing changes because it works directly in the compositor. I'm using Eevee right now just for speed. It's possible that Glared on your system, depending on what graphics card and CPU you have, might benefit from going into this options box and switching to GPU. On mine, it doesn't seem to make much difference. It seems that in versions prior to Blender 5, it was more visible, while here, the speed seems quite the same.
Let's disable the effects one by one so I can explain them individually. And at the end of the video, you'll get the big news that Glared2 has introduced. I'll tell you in advance it's the possibility to export these render passes separately and therefore be able to compose them externally in another program. So, what Glared does is nothing more than taking the light values present in our scene and using them as a base to create a series of effects directly visible in the viewport. First is the glow. From here, we can adjust the glow intensity. From here, this cutoff is the threshold through which we can decide what creates glow and what doesn't. The glow is essentially a halo. Here we have all the elements contributing to creating glow. We generally want to make sure that a glow occurs only on the lights. The more we raise the threshold, the more the glow actually tightens to work only on the lights. This is the scale. The wider it is, the broader the glow. The tighter it is, the narrower the glow. You see this glow modifying around our shapes. Keep in mind, we are now working even on shapes that are not emissive. This is the base material. Let's modify, for example, a material and make it emissive. This now lights up, and as you see, the effect being generated is more marked. If I close the threshold, the glow is produced only by this part anymore, and we still have this scale available. And we have the possibility to let the glow have the color emanated by the object in question, or we can force a glow of another color. In this case, if we want, we can force a red glow, which obviously goes in overlay on our yellow object. Keep in mind that in Glared, just like in my other add-on Flared, it is possible to force the parameters present here. Many of the parameters here. So if this light intensity isn't enough for us, we can give it 10, and at that point, we have a much higher intensity.
I want to stay on 1. 1 is what I experimented with and on which I built the add-on. If we go beyond, we might have undesired results. Here, I created my glow, and that's fine. Now let's work on the ghost. The ghost is this effect. Let's try to raise the cutoff so as to reduce the ghosts that are created. Now only the central object here should be working on the ghost. The ghost is this effect where the light generated by this object is projected outside of our scene and moves in opposition to it. Here too, we have parameters we can assign, like the brightness of the ghosts, the cutoff we saw earlier, how much of the scene tends to create ghosts. It's a threshold. The scale we can modify, the ghost scale. Careful that below 1, they will become smaller and cuts will be created inside our effect. So let's go to 1.2, for example. Then we have blur, how much the ghost is in focus or how much it remains blurred. And then we still have dispersion. Let's remove the blur if we see better that it is nothing more than an additional chromatic aberration built only on the ghosting effect. Let's hide these effects. Otherwise, we have too many effects, then we can't understand anymore. Also here on the ghost, we can use a color. We can choose in the color palette if we don't like the color generated by the object we're working on. Then we have the streak, this sort of horizontal line that is created when light breaks horizontally. Light enters camera lenses and breaks in this direction. Here too we can force if we want. Now I'm working on a 4K monitor, so it's a bit slow updating and the values are also a bit lower. Anyway, we can manage the horizontal blur and also the vertical blur if we want, even if the streak is normally horizontal. Here too, blue color is forced because often streaks are blue, but if you want, you can leave the base color created by the object or modify the streak color. Let's hide the streak. We still have this super flare. It's a completely fake effect, but very powerful, which could be very useful if you do motion graphics or things like that. We go to reduce the bit. Let's raise the cutoff so we reduce the area. I'll move the camera back a bit because otherwise it's not clear what is happening compared to the original point. And as you see, a series of parametric ghosts is created that seem to project like a time warp effect and warp without the time. We have a multiplier available that increases the complexity of the effect, and we also have a rotation available that allows us to rotate the effect. Keep in mind that all these parameters can support keyframes. So if you make keyframes, you can put them in here and you can control the evolution of every parameter over time if you are working on an animation. And now let's reactivate all the effects we generated for a moment, which are many. And let's look now, after the super flare, we have this final tuning. This final tuning takes these 4 effects we saw now and gives us the possibility to decide further how much they are present inside our scene. So we have an additional mix. I'll remove some effects just to make the viewport more fluid to see the rest of the things we are doing. Let's see what Details does. Details is the unsharp mask in Photoshop. As you see, it increases pixel contrast, and we have a mix available, which is always how present the effect is. At 0, the effect is not working. We have a distance in pixels on which the effect acts. The lower it is, the more the effect remains crisp, and relative to the fine profiles of our image, the more we widen it, the more it goes to invade a wider pixel dimension, and then we still have this factor, which is another presence factor as well. I don't remember mathematically what the difference is between factor and mix, but you still have this further control over details that can be applied. Generally, it's better not to exaggerate with this type of effects, or it's even better to leave it as the last step of post-production because they are irreversible effects. We still have lens effects like dirt on our lens. Activating lens dirt creates a dirt mask, as you see, whose intensity we can increase, and this too has a threshold.
The more I close the thresholds, the more obviously it will work only on the brighter areas of the scene, in our case, the cube with emission. It's an effect that was already in the first versions of Glared and that I kept. I don't know if you use it a lot, I left it for continuity. We also have the vignette effect that allows us to decide how much vignetting is present or not, and how strong or soft it is. Like this, it's more closed, and like this, it's more open. The last effect we have is chromatication. Here too, by enabling it, we get this chromatic aberration effect that simulates light passing through a very small lens. Let's increase the variation. The smaller the lens is, or the more inaccurate it is along the edges of the image. So all these effects that we are now going to activate all together are a bit heavy, but we're doing it because we need them to show you what I told you at the beginning. All these effects, once rendered, are applied directly on the image. You save this image and you have this PNG, JPEG, or whatever format you want, saved with the effects applied. By popular demand, I've integrated a system that I hope works well. Actually, let's call it beta, so we will see if by any chance I get some feedback from you, which allows you to export these passes separately and recompose them elsewhere. I worked on this quite a lot. I tried to understand if somehow Glared could work with transparencies. At the moment, transparency is tricky, also because all of these are light effects that are applied on luminous layers. So they have black. Black becomes a whole and pure white becomes light. And so transparencies basically go out the window because these effects have no shape. They don't have their own alpha. One could work on trying to achieve that, but it wasn't my goal now because I don't know when I would have finished. So you can work with transparency, but be careful because you might get some surprises. Okay, so now I'm disabling transparency only for this reason. It's not necessary, however, for my background to be this bright. So I'll quickly modify the world shader and bring it to 0. So we have stronger effects now that the background is black. What did I want to do? I wanted to try and show you this extra feature in action. Now let's reduce the windows a little. You have this extra feature here, Glared2 separate passes export. I enable it and absolutely nothing happens except that by ticking this checkbox, you will get some options here that you can choose. So you can save in a multi-layer file, an EXR with multiple layers, or you can save to single files that will be named differently for each pass of every effect. Right now, I prefer to make a multi-layer EXR. Here you have the settings to select, which are those Blender offers. So I haven't gone in and changed anything here, except that I've created these layers here. You can directly choose the path where you want to save it. Let's say in Downloads, okay? And here you can give the name of your file. I'll call it Glared for now, and let's see what happens. So it's important to keep this in mind. The window where we normally save files when we work in Blender is this one. I don't have control over this window. I could probably have it somehow, but I prefer not to interact directly with Blender's core functions so as not to create any glared features that might one day cause issues for Blender or be poorly compatible with it. So to maximize compatibility, I don't interfere with it. If you render and make animations, this will keep working, doing exactly what you've told it to do. This is something extra. If you go and enable this checkbox, you will additionally save this multi-layer wherever you want, or this single RGB layer wherever you want. But one thing does not exclude the other. This is always active. Keep that in mind. If you want this thing to be as unobtrusive as possible, you'll probably want to set it to JPEG at low quality and have it save images that you will then throw away that you don't need at all. Now I want to see what happens here. This works in a different way compared to this one, because this works automatically when you render an animation, whereas when you render a single frame like this, you'll then have to save it manually. This one, instead, also works when rendering a single frame. This one always works. So if I now render a single frame, just the fact of having rendered it means it has already been saved in this path. Let's go see what that means. I'll go into Affinity Photo, which, for those who don't know it, is an alternative to Photoshop. There's already this new version, Affinity by Canva, which I haven't integrated into my workflow yet because it has some issues I still need to solve. So I'm staying on version 2 of Affinity Photo. And here we have the EXR, and the file has been saved here. Let's open it and see what happens. So I'll first point out that I had to make a change to the affinity settings for those who might use it. Namely, I had to go and set something that concerns, here it is, associate open EXR alpha channels. I enabled it and it automatically avoids creating an extra alpha channel. It generates it already merged, so I have fewer fake channels. Anyway, if you're interested, these are the settings I'm using now. So here we have the separate channels. How do we recompose exactly what we were seeing in Blender? I'll tell you because right now I don't have any other way. Later I'll make docs explaining this and I'll save them somewhere you can access them. The vignetting effect should be treated with multiply. The lens dirt effect should be treated as add. The four effects superflare, streak, ghost, and glow need to be grouped, so I select them all together, press Ctrl-G or Command-G so that they become a group. The group should be treated as add, while what's inside it, every single layer that I select like this, should be treated, I don't remember if it's lighten or screen. You would think screen. Sorry, I was working in Italian, so it's not such a smooth switch for me. So they weren't in screen, they were in lighten. This is what we were seeing in Blender. And this is what we're seeing now, which is identical. Well, we have a different viewing profile because now in Blender, I've enabled by default the color corrections in the viewport. These instead are the real values. And as you can see, we can have each individual effect separated on each channel. So this is the raw render, a flat channel with obviously chromatic aberration already applied, and also details, the details. The unsharp mask has already been applied because these are effects that happen directly at pixel level and can't be separated out onto separate layers. Coming back here, we then have the glow effect, and you see little of it here because it's not very present. The ghosting effect, the streak effect, and the super flare effect. Then we have the dirt, which acts in this area here, and then the vignetting, which acts more or less everywhere. If we look at a single layer, let's switch them all off and look at just one. What I was saying before is that these are just layers that need to be added using blend modes. They don't have their own alpha. Yes, you could take black and interpret it as alpha, but you'd have to do some work that Glared wasn't designed for right now. In any case, in this way, you have control from Photoshop, from Affinity, from After Effects, or from any other program that has blend modes. All programs have them. Blend modes to save your images. If it were an animation, it would be the same. Obviously, it would save the frames of your animation so you can handle them on separate layers. I hope I've said everything. I'm sure I've forgotten something. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this update. Please give me some feedback if you like how Glared2 works now and about this voice. Thank you very much, and good work to everyone. Bye.